Hello everyone, welcome back to 366 Days of Hope. My name is Pearl and I'm here to share our next topic, which is calcium. Quick disclaimer, I am a personal trainer. I am not a medical doctor, so if you have any concerns whatsoever regarding your health, please make sure you talk to your provider. So let's get started. As we talked about copper a few videos ago, I discussed how it works with other enzymes to basically produce collagen, and collagen is what makes up the bone matrix. And that bone matrix has a hard shell around it. Well, that hard shell around it is calcium, and that's what forms the hard part of the bones. And it basically helps keep the bone structure strong throughout our body. So does calcium do for us? Well, calcium helps build and maintain our bone health. It also helps with blood vessels moving calcium throughout our body. It also helps release hormones that affect the functions in the body, such as the parathyroid gland, which releases parathyroid hormone. And that generally happens if you have low calcium in your diet. The body will then know to balance that out in such a beautiful way. So we'll discuss here what the parathyroid does. So as you can see with this diagram, the parathyroid hormone comes from your parathyroid gland, and that gland basically goes over to the bone and releases calcium and puts that into the bloodstream, which then is carried throughout the rest of the body to go do important functions. Then if say it needs more calcium, it's going to absorb it from, say, the intestinal tract as well, and it's going to pull it from the food that you've digested. And then it will go over to the kidney and get reserves from there, or it will prevent calcium from being released through the urine, so that way that it maintains a storage system in the kidneys. As we can see, calcium works as an intercellular communication in that it helps cells talk to each other. And when it enters into the bloodstream, it lets the other cells know where the calcium needs to go, and as well as if there's too much calcium in the body, and then it kind of triggers a domino effect to help try and maintain that calcium level in the body. And so this can affect basically your heart as well, because calcium works with magnesium, and it basically helps maintain your blood pressure, in that calcium is really important for the muscle contraction that happens. So if, say, for example, if you have low calcium, then that can affect basically the heart and the blood pressure, and that can cause arrhythmias. The other benefit is that it contributes to a stronger bone development, and also it prevents calcium loss, as we see what parathyroid hormones do by basically conserving calcium in the kidneys, and it trying to preserve it. And it only goes to the kidneys if it needs more calcium in, say, the different parts of its body. So this is an important system that the body uses to maintain perfect calcium homeostasis. So what causes calcium deficiency? Well, vitamin D plays a huge role in that, because vitamin D actually helps the body absorb calcium via the intestinal tract. So if you don't have vitamin D, then you may become calcium deficient. Also, if you have kidney failure, then you could be calcium deficient. If you remove your stomach, or you have any gastrointestinal problems, or maybe you've had procedures done, that can also affect your calcium absorption. And remember, the kidney is responsible in storing excess calcium, and so that if the parathyroid hormone is released from the parathyroid gland, it's able to find a place on where it can obtain its calcium. So it's a conservatory for calcium. So if you remove the kidney, you could become deficient in calcium. So the symptoms of calcium deficiency starts off with osteopenia, which basically means that you have low bone density, which if that happens for a long extended period of time, you then can have osteoporosis. You can also experience things like muscle cramps, aches, and spasms in, your calves or maybe in your thighs. You might feel some pain and tingling, maybe some numbness in your hands and feet. You may also experience things like arrhythmias if it's much worse, if this deficiency progresses, and also convulsion as well as death. So what causes an excess of calcium buildup in the body? Well, this is if your parathyroid hormone becomes more present in your body, meaning that maybe you have a tumor or a cancer cell in your parathyroid gland and it just becomes overactive, and then it releases more of the parathyroid hormone into the bloodstream, and then it's starting to leach more and more calcium from the bones, or maybe it's taking it from the kidneys and putting more into the body and putting more into the cell, which then would result in heart disease, prostate cancer. You could have like poor muscle tone, you could have kidney failure, or at least poor kidney function, and then lead to kidney failure. If this progresses, you could have low phosphate levels, you can have constipation, nausea, weight loss, you could experience extreme fatigue, and of course, abnormal heart rhythms. So what inhibits calcium? Well, we've talked about oxalic acid and phytic acids before, and one of the big reasons why those may be a problem with absorbing calcium is that it forms an indigestible salt with calcium. So with that said, it's really important to make sure that we consume a plethora of different types of foods. And although you may have some foods that contain these, it's only, of course, at very high, levels until your body is incapable of, absorbing calcium. Now, the other things that can prevent your body from absorbing calcium is, again, low vitamin D, as we've spoken about before, and of course caffeine and phosphorus can also stop your body from absorbing calcium. So when it comes to where is the best source of obtaining calcium, there is some controversy between plants and animals, meaning that depending on where you are getting your calcium, you could be absorbing much less. For example, like milk, you could be drinking 300 milligrams of milk but only absorbing 30%, so you'd only have a net gain of 100 milligrams in your body. And then, but if you look at bok choy, you may be getting 160 milligrams of calcium, but you're absorbing 50% of that versus the 30% that you do from milk. So the efficiency of the absorption is sometimes in question. So the thing is, calcium is prevalent in a lot of different foods, and I think it just really depends on your own personal study on it. I am linking everything below regarding that. Generally, no one really has a problem with being deficient other than if you don't have vitamin D, because if you are vitamin D or vitamin K2 deficient, then those can be a problem with how calcium is used in your body, because it pairs itself with a lot of other essential vitamins to be able to be used in the specific functions that it does for the body. So what helps our body absorb calcium? Here are 4: magnesium, phosphorus, vitamin D, and vitamin K2. Now earlier I did say it can also inhibit. Now if you have too little vitamin D, that can inhibit calcium. If you have too much phosphorus, that can inhibit calcium. If you have too much magnesium, that can inhibit calcium. So there is a constant balance that our body desperately wants. And so it's really important, again, that you eat a variety of foods so that you aren't eating too much of one thing and having too little of another. What are the top 3 foods that have the highest daily value? Now, this was tough because, like I said, there was just conflicting information out there. And again, this is something you'd have to do your research on to see, to confirm it for yourself. But as a plant-based, enthusiast, I'm going to lean in towards encouraging people to eat more plants. So the first one is firm tofu, which has 132% of your daily value in 1 cup. You can also have poppy seeds that have 10% of your daily value in 1 tablespoon. So if you have 16 tablespoons, I think you would have gotten plenty of your daily value, although I don't suggest that. You have collard greens, which have 21% in 1 cup. And with that said, guys, this concludes our topic on calcium, and I hope it just encourages you to constantly think about how everything that you eat just gets absorbed in your system and how other vitamins and minerals are affected by what it is that you consume. And when you start looking at things as being interconnected, it just really helps you make better decisions for yourself. So you guys take care. May you live, thrive, and be healthy. Bye, guys.